Today we're going to be doing a demo of problem 1 for lab 1. So let's get started. As always, we're going to start by creating a sketch. I'm going to just use this front plane here. Doesn't matter which one you use. Okay. Now that we're here, the first thing always to do is to bring your sketch picture in, or just refer to the schematic of the sketch in another window. Like you can open the Word document or the B-Courses page, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert here, or sorry, Tools, Sketch Tools, and then click this Sketch Picture. Select the picture I have of problem 1, and just adjust it however I want. I'm going to place it right there. Let's put it right there. And then just click the check mark. Okay. Now that we have our sketch picture in, we can start drawing. We're already in inches, pounds, and seconds, so we don't need to change anything because that's the units of our drawing. First thing we should notice is that our sketch is symmetrical. They ended up drawing this line here kind of to give you a hint that maybe you should just draw half of the drawing first and then just mirror it to complete the other half. So let's start by creating this center line. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just draw a line. Doesn't have to be straight or anything, but as always, when you line it up so it's completely vertical, you'll see that little yellow box right next to your pencil icon. That will tell you that your line is perfectly straight in the vertical direction. All right, so I'm going to click there, and here's my line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this to the origin here just so we have a starting point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that, hold shift, click that point there in the origin, and make it a midpoint, just like that. So now this line is attached to our origin. Next, I'm going to click this line and make it for construction. See, I'll turn dashed like this, and I'm going to make it infinite length. Perfect. So now this line is a midline that goes through our entire sketch. Like we can zoom out as much as we want, it will still be there. This is going to be the line in which we mirror our whole sketch over. This is like the center of our sketch, just like this one. Okay. We can get started by drawing the geometry around, like the lines. So you can start by just arbitrarily trying to like guess like what it should look like. So that's kind of like a horizontal thing. There's an angle, then it goes up straight, a little bit of flat, and then it comes back down, and then straight again. So that's kind of the basic shape. Oops, I do not want to make that on that point there. It's not supposed to be fixed. There. Okay, so everything should be blue like this. If you have any black lines, it might make things more complicated later. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the dimensions we have on our sketch picture here to help us define the rest of this sketch. So to start, what we're going to do is figure out how wide this part should be. If we look here, this 4.00 tells us that from this midpoint to the edge of our sketch is 4 inches. So to do that, we're going to click the Smart Dimension tool. I have it bound to my D key, so I'm going to just press D. Click the middle edge of your sketch. You can either click this line or this point. Boom. And then click the outermost edge here, that point. And as we know, this needs to be 4 inches. Click Enter. And now that's 4. See, our sketch is really small now because we were a little bit too zoomed out. So let me wonder if I can edit this. There we go. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller, put it closer to our sketch just so we can see it easier. Okay, perfect. There we go. So we know that that's 4 inches. We also know that this little line right here is 0.5 inches. So let's take care of that. To determine the length of this line, all we have to do is get our dimension tool out. You'll see the little dimension icon right next to your cursor. Click the line. Click the line not in the middle, just like that. And then what we're going to do is just click out and type in 0.5. And there we go. That line now has a length of 0.5. Okay, next, let's look over here. You also see on the left side that the height of our drawing is 5 inches. So we can do the same thing here. We're going to define the top, that point, and the bottom, this point, drag it out, and this should be 5. Boom. We're getting pretty close to defining this, but we still got some work to do. Let's see. The next line we can define is over here in the center part. So this 2 represents from this point to its mirror on this side. So this line isn't 2 inches, but it's this half part right here, this 1 inch part. So what we can do is we can define this as 1. Boom. There we go. So that's 1, that's 0.5. The height is 5, and the width is 4. Perfect. So there are a couple of lines that we still haven't completely defined yet. One of them being, how big is this section right here, from this line to this line at the bottom, as well as what's the angle on this thing right here, right? So let's figure out those 2 items next. They don't give us a direct measurement for how tall from this line to that line, but we can figure it out using some simple addition right here. So we know that this is 1.125 inches, and this is 0.875 inches. If you just add those together, you should get 2 inches. So what we can do is we can define this as 2. From here to here, that should be 2. Boom. Right. Just a couple more dimensions to go, and we should be good. Let's dimension this line. Nowhere does it tell us the length of this line. The only thing we do know is its angle, and also how tall it is. So just like this line, let's make it 2. Boom. Should be 2. The only thing that's left to figure out is the angle. You can see I can stretch this out however much I want, because we do not know the length of this bottom part right here. That's arbitrary. Okay, so to make an angle dimension, it's a little bit different. So I think what we can do is we can click this line, click the point, and then click this line. Yes, okay, so what you want to do is click this line, and then hover over this line behind it and click it. As you can see, it'll give us an angle between these 2 lines. If we look at our diagram, we want it to be on this side, just like this. Click to place it, and just like it says in the diagram, let's make it 60 degrees. Boom. There we go. That's now 60 degrees. You might be wondering, why is our sketch still blue then? The reason is we haven't fixed it on a point on this line. It can slide up and down as much as it wants. So to fix that, what we can do is just click this point right here, or any point on the center line. You can use the bottom one, and just you can click the fix button here. Boom. And now this point locks everything else, because our sketch, everything was defined, and now that this point is completely stuck, nothing else can move. You can see at the bottom, our sketch says fully defined, and every line is black. All right. The last thing we need to do before making our mirror move is creating all of these circles here. So if we look here, let's make this, or we'll make this circle last because it's in the center. Let's make these 3 circles on the side. So our first circle has a radius of 0.875 inches, or not radius, diameter, and the other ones have a diameter of 3/8, which is 0.375. So what we're going to do is just draw 3 circles. Don't worry about how big or small they are just yet. Okay. Next, let's define the radius of this first one. This one is going to have a radius or a diameter of 0.875. So if we click our dimension tool, just click the outside of the circle, and it will give you this dropout. It has the same symbol, so you know it's the right thing. Just type in 0.875, hit enter, and it'll be the right size. It rounds it off because it's only to 2 decimals. If you're really bugged by that, you can fix that by clicking it. Oops, sorry. You have to right click it, my bad. If you right click it, you can change the precision here. So you can make it 3 decimals just so it shows the last one. That's just visual though, not gonna matter. Alright. Let's also make the second smaller circle. Dimension, click there. And this should be 0.375. Hit enter. Alright. To save us some time, we don't have to define the second one. We can just set these 2 to be equal to each other. So click this first circle, hold shift, and then click the second circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this equal relation right here. This means that this circle will automatically be the same radius and diameter as this circle. Perfect. Now, the last thing we need to do is lock these circles in place. Where do they go on this drawing? That information we're going to find on the side. So if we look at this first large circle here, we know that it's 1 inch away from the edge, and it's 2 inches down. So let's dimension that out. So it is 1 inch away from this edge. This should be 1. And it's 2 inches down. Yep. So from this point to that point, dimension correctly, from that point to that point, this should be 2. Hit enter. There we go. You can also move this circle out of the way if it's bugging you. Just drag it out. Okay. Now let's finish the other 2 dimensions for these circles. Okay. We know that from the center of the big circle to the small circle is 0.5 inches. So take one of your circles, hit the dimension tool, and click the center of this one and the center of this one. And make sure like all your dimensions are straight, because if you do it like this way, it's going to measure the diagonal. That's not what you want. Okay. So from this circle to that circle is 0.5 inches, just like that. And we know that from the center of this circle, if we move our mouse left, it's 1 inch lower. Right? We can just follow the lines that come off of the dimensions to know that things are straight in relation to each other. Okay, so click the center and the center there, and instead of going down, we're going to go to the side, just like this, and make this 1. Boom. Now, there's our next circle. We can save a little bit of time here. Instead of making another 1 inch dimension for this lower circle over here, right? We could do this if we really wanted to. From here to here. Oh, no, sorry, this was going to be 0.5. From here to here. It's not even going to let me do it because they're too close to each other. But if I went here, right, and I dimension this, and I wanted to make this 0.5, we could do this, right? But it's a waste of time, and it just makes your sketch look a little messy. Easier way instead is to click the center of this circle, click the center of this circle, and click vertical. That will make sure that your two circles are always in a straight vertical line. Last thing we have to dimension is this part. We know that this small circle is 1 inch lower than the other small circle. That's our last dimension. So we click the two centers again, drag it out, and make this 1 inch. Boom. As you can see, everything is again fully defined. Quick disclaimer, if you try and dimension something that already has like a constraint on it, like let's say this, which we didn't know the length of, but let's say we figured it out somehow, your sketch is going to turn yellow, and it's going to give you this dimension-driven warning. This means that you're over-constraining your sketch. This means that somewhere you've already told this line that it's supposed to be a certain length, and it's redundant that you're trying to define it again when it already has a definition. So you want your sketch to be fully defined, but not under-constrained or over-constrained. And that should get you all black lines like this and this little phrase at the bottom. Perfect. The last thing we need to do is get our mirror function done. So let's get that. So we're going to use this mirror entities tool up here. If it doesn't appear at the top, it should be in tools and sketch tools, or sketch, yes, sketch tools and mirror. Okay, once you click mirror, it's going to ask you to select entities. You could just click them like this, or what you can do, this should be quicker, is you can click, hold, and drag, and you can select all the entities at the same time, just like this, and they'll all turn blue. Make sure this copy button is checked, because that'll mean it'll create a copy instead of just flipping it to the other side. And now we have to figure out a line to mirror the whole sketch about. Luckily for us, we made the center line at the very beginning, so click the box where it's asking you to select a mirror, and click this line. It should show you a preview of what your sketch looks like on this side, and that looks about right. Make sure you click the check mark, and boom. Another thing to note is that once you mirror it, you should see your entire sketch become shaded. When it isn't shaded, that means that your sketch is not closed, which means it won't extrude correctly. But if it's shaded like this, then you know that SolidWorks recognizes this as a complete solid body, and it will extrude this piece out. Cool. Very last step for our sketch is to make this circle in the middle, which has a diameter of 1.125 inches. So let's draw a circle, dimension it like always. It's going to be 1.125. Boom. Okay. If you were smart, you might have already put this circle on the center line, so it was already attached. If you didn't, that's perfectly fine. All you have to do is click the center of your circle, hold shift, click your center line, and make them coincident. This means that your point will always stay on this line right here. Awesome. Luckily for us, we have a dimension that tells us how far away from the edge it should be, 0.875 inches. So what we have to do is dimension from the center of the circle to this line and make this 0.875, hit enter, and everything is once again fully defined, and we are ready to extrude. So what you can do is click exit sketch, see your sketch here. If the picture's getting in the way, you can always right click it. Never mind. It would be a pain to kind of get rid of it, but it's fine, it's not really in the way. Okay, so now once you're here, all we have to do is extrude. So go back to features and click extrude boss base. It's going to ask you to select a plane. Click any point along this outside line, and what you should see is this, where it looks like there's a complete solid box. Awesome. Once you've done that, we have to figure out how thick our extrusion should be. I unfortunately forgot to take that in my screenshot, so I've got to look at my Word document. It is 3 inches. So all we have to do is in this dimension box right here, type in a 3, hit enter, and it should be at 3. Another time-saving thing you can do is you can add the holes in the same sketch. So click selected contours, and what I want you to do is click all of the insides or edges of these circles. It doesn't matter if you click the inside or the edge, it will create a very convenient hole where you want your holes to be. Once this looks good and everything looks about right, you can click the check mark here. Once you're done, your part should look something like this. I can give you the mass properties as well, just so you know you're on the right track. It also says it on the Word document if you check there. Awesome. Okay, I hope this helped, and I will see you in the next one.